Welcome to the Savage Productions YouTube channel.
Well, would you check that sweet truck out right there? We got a 1950 Chevrolet 3600, which is a long bed, basically a work truck. How's it going? Thanks for checking out the video today. So we've got a sweet truck in here we're doing a little bit of repair on. I want to kind of show you what's going on with this. So the history of this truck is it's been restored, as you can see. It's been restored about 20 years ago, maybe even more. So the owner that just bought it, he buys and sells cars, classic cars, for a living. Well, I should say his side gig. And he picked this up from a collector. The collector had it for about 10 years. That guy bought it from a museum. This truck was actually in a museum for more than 10 years. So collector decided to start letting go of some of his vehicles and sold him this one. So obviously it doesn't have the original wheels on it and tires. He may end up changing that, trying to go back to that original theme, because everything else on this truck is pretty much like a factory setup. The bed, inside the bed, is a wooden bed. You know, as you can see, it's really nice. Now, keep in mind, this truck was redone over 20 years ago. So it has been sitting a very long time. Doesn't get driven very much. Always kept in a climate controlled environment. And if you notice, this one is a 5-window. Supposedly the 5 windows are very rare. And the 3600s is a 3/4 ton. That's why it's kind of lifted up in the back. And it was considered a long wheelbase, as you can see. And then the running boards, see how long they are. I'm not sure if these trucks came with the light or not. It looks to be original. Not really sure, but let me open up the door here so y'all can see this thing. I mean, it's nice. I drove it, you know, not very far because it's not running good. I just kind of pulled it around the parking lot, pulled it inside. But as you can see, it's just like it was brand new back in the day. No power steering, no power brakes, manual transmission with a first gear granny gear for pulling. The starter is actually down there on the floor. That round button, that's how you start it. When you push that, the starter engages, and it will actually accelerate it a little bit too. Gives you a little bit of gas on the throttle. But just look at this thing. It shows 89,567 miles. All the gauges work. Lights work. That's actually for the wipers right there. I'm sure that's vacuum controlled. That's what they were. Wipers were controlled by vacuum. No radio in this one. Does have a heater. The battery is actually, let me go around, open that other door. The battery on these are in the floor. I had to unhook the ground on it because I didn't want to cause any issues. And I'll show you here, and I'll show you in the engine here in a minute what I found. So, fuel cap, Yeah, this was you see the door there? Windows, let me roll this window. No problem, goes up just like brand new. It would be so cool to have a truck like this. That's where the battery's at, it's in the floor. 6 volt. Look, still got the original owner's manual. It's got an original Chevrolet truck shop manual. Heck, I bet you that right there is worth a lot of money. Let's see, this must be the ashtray. Yep. Let me stand back so you can see it. Yeah, this is pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. So I'm gonna show you what I found. So this thing, like I say, he bought it, knowing it wasn't running good. It was smoking. It smokes real bad, blue smoke, burning oil, running on 4 cylinders. And so this is kind of a common problem on these old engines when they're not driven a lot. So I took the valve covers off, I took the side cover off. The distributor goes there. I've got it pulled out. These are mechanical lifters. They're not hydraulic. That's actually the lifter right there. Don't know if you can see it. Let me get my light. So what I found, we have a broken rocker arm on number 3 cylinder. As you can see right there. That's what it's supposed to look like. And that's what's left of it. It's on the intake valve. So looks like they had this problem before, but because you can see that these push rods, these two are a lot larger in diameter than the other ones. These are the original size. So anyway, this one broke the tip off. It bent the push rod a little bit. I've already taken it out. And then number 5 intake, it didn't break the rocker arm, but it bent the push rod. I've already taken it out. I've already checked the lifters, they're fine. What caused this was the actual valve is stuck in the head. So all of these are freed up. This one is stuck. It will not go down at all. This one won't go down at all. And that's what caused it. I'm really surprised that this one didn't just bend the push rod. It did, but it happened so fast it snapped it. And what normally happens is it happens on startup, because when these things sit a long time, which this one has, who knows how long it sat without getting started. So back in the day, we used to have lead in the gasoline. Leaded gasoline act as a lubricant to the intake valves and the valve seats. That's why modern day engines have hardened valve seats, and they have, bronze valve guides, or whatever type of material that they have in these heads for lubrication. So you have valve guide seals that are, the valve guide seals are going to be inside the valve spring, sitting, it slides down over the valve stem and locks in place. The older setups like these older engines, they call it an umbrella seal, umbrella valve seal. They're not locked in place, they just float up and down with the valve. And they allow the oil to kind of go around the valve guide in the head, but it also controls how much oil flows down through the valve stem into the head. You got to have oiling between the valve stem and the head, the valve guide, for lubrication, so the valves don't lock up. That's why all these old motors back in the day would smoke a little bit. You know, not very much, but they did smoke a little because oil was always passing down through them down through the valve stems to lubricate the valve guides on the heads. So what happens is when you run these old engines like this with unleaded gas, and the engine sits for a long time and is not being driven, the valve gets all gummed up and nasty between the valve and the valve guide in the head. They just get all gummed up. It's like a carburetor getting gummed up, gels up, you know, that old gas. And what happens is it seizes up in the head. And then when you go to start this thing, you spin it over, you know, trying to get it started. It just bends the push rods. But in some cases, it will break the tip right off of the rocker arm. Some of them, here, this is it right here. So there's the push rod that's bent, that came off of number 5. And then this is the push rod that came off of the one that's broken. It's not really bent bad. It's got a little bit of a bend to it. You can see it walking back and forth there, but yeah, it broke the tip right off. Now I've heard too that sometimes, like, so that one broke the tip off of the push rod side. Sometimes they'll break the tip off of the valve side because look how much longer it is. See, it's so much longer on that side right here. That's where they usually break. So there's an old trick on unsticking valves. A lot of you guys probably know this. So we don't have to pull the heads off. I'll basically pull the valve spring off the head. If there's a valve guide seal in there, which I'm sure there is, I'll get that out of the way. And then you want to use some kind of a detergent cleaner oil, you know, like what's it, Marvel mystery oil. That stuff is just unbelievable. You can actually get that stuff and soak the valve stem itself, let that work its way down in there, and then start working the valve up and down. You have to actually work it up and down. You don't really want to put air in the cylinder because you can't push the valve down. So you want to bring the piston all the way up, or at least up to the point where when you get that valve broke loose, it won't fall all the way down in there. So that I've already got the piston up far enough to where when I take the valve spring off and start getting it freed up, I can work it down. It's obviously the best way to do it is to pull the heads, have the heads completely gone through, put new valve guides in, and the whole deal. But in this case, I'm just going to see if I can free them up. If I can free them up to where that valve will spin in a circle and just works freely, which it should. I've done them before, old engines like this. Should be good to go. Then I'll throw the new rocker arm on, new push rod, readjust everything, and we'll be good to go. Should be fine. Got to change the spark plugs. You can see, here's the spark plugs. This is the one, that's number 5, completely oil fouled. Number 3 is completely oil fouled. That's why I've got the 2 marks there. And then these are just super rich. You could tell they're just, you know, it was just dumping too much fuel in there because it's only running on 4 cylinders. You have low vacuum because you only have 4 cylinders. 2 cylinders are dead. So your air fuel is completely out of whack. Too much fuel going in there. But once we get it all fixed up for him, new spark plugs. I think what I want to do is I've got a spark plug cleaner. I'm probably going to clean the plugs up. All of these, I want to put them in there because I know it's going to smoke. It's going to smoke bad whenever I get it running because the pistons are full of oil, them two pistons. So I think what I'll do is I'll probably do a little combustion cleaning deal on here. Suck some cleaner down into a vacuum hose, get the top of the pistons all good and coated with the cleaner. After the motor's warmed up, let it sit for a while, crank it up and drive it. It's going to smoke really bad, but it will clean all that carbon and all that oil off of the combustion chamber and the piston, at least most of it. Then I can put the new plugs in, should be good to go. So yeah, that's the plan. So I went ahead and ordered. I tell you something else too. You can't just find these rocker arms, man. I've probably been on the phone for 4 hours calling around trying to find these rocker arms or even rocker arm shafts or anything. No luck. No luck at all. I called this one place. I got lucky. I called this one place that has a salvage yard for collector vehicles. Nothing but old stuff. They had some of them engines. They put these engines in all kinds of stuff. Chevrolet did. Cars, trucks, you name it. Oh, by the way, this is a 216 is what this is, a 216 cubic inch 6-cylinder. They had 216s and 235s in these. And this one's a 216. So, but anyway, the salvage yard had, they had some rocker arms, shafts, the whole deal, but they didn't want to separate them from the head. They want to sell the whole head. So he did give me a number of a company that has all kinds of parts. I mean, anything you want, engine parts, whatever, for, older cars and trucks. So I think they're out of Pennsylvania, but I called them. Sure enough, they've got rocker arms, and they're reconditioned rocker arms. Because a lot of times they'll get damaged on the shaft. Another thing that happens to these, which I've already checked, this one's good to go. So this is an oil feed line, right? This oil feed line feeds oil inside this shaft, and the oil will keeps all this lubricated right there, and then it will come up from here and splash up, and that's what lubricates the valves and just lubricates everything. Well, this oil tube runs all the way down into the block right here. Oil will come through this tube and go up. Well, what happens is sometimes when these bend, or if this gets pushed over, it will rub a hole in this tube. Once you stop the oiling from getting up here, you have a nightmare. So this company, what they do is they remanufacture all of these rocker arms. They don't typically do anything with broken ones, but they remanufacture these and sell them as a kit, or just sell one of them. And then they also will sell you the whole shaft assembly. So, and these are different. The intakes and the exhaust are different. They're angled different. So, yeah, I feel really lucky that I found, I called around and I got this number. I'm going to keep the number of this company. But, so I got a remanufactured shaft coming. They're charging me a core charge because I can't send this one back. Yeah, you could probably weld these things up or whatever, but, don't want to take no chances there. But yeah, so that's good to know. That was cool. Anyway, yeah, so I want to go ahead and do a video of this truck now because, it's going to take a few days to get the parts. I got to get an intake gasket. I got to get the side covered gasket, which they call that a push rod gasket, or I'm sorry, they call that a push rod cover. So I got to get that gasket coming, the valve cover gasket, and then once I get the push rods and the rocker arms, I'm going to have it all ready to go. I'm going to, when I come in tomorrow, I'm going to go ahead and take it take it apart and get, you know, the valves unstuck, hopefully, you know, if they're not seized in there, but I'd say they'll probably come unstuck. They'll be okay. So I just want to go ahead and get this video done, kind of get it out for you guys to see this truck. And once I get this thing going, then maybe we'll do a little ride. We'll take it for a ride. You know, not break no speed record with this thing, but hey, it'd be cool, right? So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and cut it off here. I've done talked long enough for you guys, and I appreciate you guys checking this out, and be on the lookout for this one when I you know, come back out. I may do a little video putting it back together, but you know, we'll see how it goes. But anyway, I do appreciate you checking this one out, and you know, give me a thumbs up, and you know, like it, share it, you know how it goes, all that good stuff. So we'll see you on the next video.